Merry Christmas! Thank you for tuning in today on this special day, December 25th. My name's Danielle. I'm your resident romantic.
And I'm Lindsay, the fantasy fan, and we are friends
till the book ends. We figured what better way to celebrate today than making our second book review book focus on this holiday. Lindsay heard a lot of great hype about The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. It focuses on a 17-year-old girl named Holly. She is very briefly at the beginning visited by 3 ghosts of her Christmas past, present, and future to tell her to change her life, and if she doesn't, something awful is going to happen to her. And not a spoiler, you find out in the very beginning she doesn't change her ways, and she dies. And she actually joins the crew. It's called Project Scrooge. She becomes the ghost of Christmas past, and every year they choose a new person, a Scrooge, to try and turn around. And they go through it, and their focus this year is on a guy named Ethan. He is a Scrooge. He also happens to be 17 years old. This is new because, as they mention, most of the Scrooges they pick are 50 years or older. They're usually an older guy, so it's an interesting take. It's kind of new for Holly, someone who's very attractive, apparently, her age. Yes. So the book follows Holly, who tries to get closer to Ethan without letting anyone at Project Scrooge know. That's it for the synopsis. We're not going to put too many spoilers in the summary itself. However, this is a book review, our second one on the channel, so keep in mind there will be spoilers as we go along with this.
So the first area that we wanted to kind of chat through is, I guess, our overall feelings on the book. So as Danielle mentioned, I've been watching BookTube for about a year now. Actually, I started in the new year of 2020, so it's been a whole year. Every video that I've watched about this book, people have really enjoyed it. So I went into this book with really high expectations, thinking that it was going to be like the perfect Christmas read, and I was going to really like it, and I kind of felt meh about the whole book. I ended up giving it like a 3.5 stars. What did you end up giving?
I'm not going to lie, I don't usually look at reviews before starting a book because then my expectations get high, and I hadn't heard about this book until Lindsay told me that there were great reviews about it, so I went into it with expectations high, unfortunately. I also thought it was meh. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Oh. So I think we're going to have a lot to discuss with this one.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we should first chat through some things that we liked. I liked the overall concept of the book. So I'm not a huge Christmas fan. Like, I like Christmas, don't get me wrong, but I know Danielle's like obsessed with Christmas.
In case you can't tell, I'm a fan of Christmas.
She's wearing Grinch leggings.
There's also Christmas socks on my feet.
Christmas socks, yes, and I'm not about it. I respect it, but I'm not about it. But I really enjoyed the actual concept of the book. I thought it was a creative take on your classic Charles Dickens Christmas story. You know, it's taking a little bit of a modern twist on it because Holly is part of Project Scrooge, and she's actually part of the 3 ghosts themselves, so she is Christmas past. Mm-hmm. So Holly visits other Scrooges as the ghost of Christmas past to show them the error of their past ways. There's a ghost of Christmas present who takes them through their present life, and then there's a ghost of Christmas future who shows them essentially that they're going to die if they don't get it into gear. So I thought it was kind of a unique and creative way because it also, Project Scrooge has like people who aren't dead involved in it, which I thought was kind of fun. And they have like a whole command center. It's like techie. And I thought that was kind of a fun way to kind of make it more modern because I hate Charles Dickens. I don't really enjoy A Christmas Story, the original one. So I kind of thought this was a fun take on it, but there were just a few issues I had with the plot as a whole.
All right, well, before we dive into the downside, some of my favorites, I agree. I did like the interesting take on it. The beginning was a little rough for me, specifically with it, so we'll dive into that later, but the overall idea of it I really did like. Massive spoiler alert, because I'm about to discuss the ending. I really enjoyed the ending. It has a huge twist that I semi-saw coming, but not how they planned it out. You find out at the end that while you are kind of focusing on Ethan, it's a secret that they're actually focusing on Holly. Holly has not changed her ways in the 5 years she's been with Project Scrooge. They don't stop trying to change the Scrooge. They have a rehabilitation process, and it turns out that they were, undergoing a process with her. So I actually did like the ending. But the whole rest of the book, there's actually not a whole lot that I loved about it.
Okay, so let's chat through some characters. So obviously you have Holly. She's our main Scrooge. She fails being rehabilitated on Christmas 5 years ago. She dies at age 17, and now she's part of Project Scrooge. So she's the main person that we're following. She gets an assistant this year named Steph, And I really liked Steph, and I thought her portrayal and her being in the story was actually quite clever, because as you see towards the end of the book, Steph isn't just an assistant, she is actually the ghost of Christmas past from when Holly was alive, and she's the one who showed Holly that she needed to like change her ways, and these were the bad parts of her life, and so Steph, you think of her as just kind of a supporting character, but in reality she has a really large role in Holly's life, and you know, she also becomes a friend to Holly, and Holly's not, she doesn't know that Steph is the ghost of Christmas past. You know, I thought that was very clever how that was put in, and I really enjoyed Steph as a character. I thought she brought kind of a little bit of fun and spunkiness to the whole book.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, Steph as a person, if she were here right now, I could definitely get a little bit annoyed with her because of her over-eccentricism, which is ironic because I wouldn't enjoy it because that's how I am. I'm a very bubbly, positive person, and usually there's so much energy going on in me that if someone else is just as energetic as myself, I'm a little like, all right, that's a little much.
So you like to be the star.
All right, well, a little bit, yeah. I was trying to be polite about it. That aside, I did like her as a character, though. I definitely could tell that there was something special about her right when you start, because it's like, no, this is the only ghost who gets an assistant. Why is there suddenly an assistant involved? I'm not sure how I feel about how long it took to reveal Steph. I guess just because Steph was involved in the story the entire time, so to me, there couldn't be a surprise twist, you know?
Yeah.
I just felt it was too far gone. She was already built up as a character.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that from the beginning, because no other ghost had an assistant, and Holly had never had an assistant, and it was kind of unclear what Steph's like actual role was, it kind of made it obvious that she was going to have a larger part
absolutely
in it, which isn't bad, but I think the foreshadowing was a little obvious. I really liked Boz, too, as a character.
He's my favorite, honestly.
So, Boz is the guy who's in charge of Project Scrooge, and he's kind of mysterious, and that is something that I do have a bit of a gripe with the book, is that nothing's explained. Ever. Yes. Like, nothing is really explained. Like, you get the basic explanation of what Project Scrooge is and, like, what their deal is, but you don't really get any background on, like, how did this come to be? Who is Boz? Like, you get some background on some of the characters, but not on others, and it just felt almost as if, how long is the book? I think it's 389 pages, but the font is really big, if you can see, so I felt as if it could have been longer, or this kind of might have been better as a duology, maybe, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if they had been able to break it up and kind of put it into either two parts or make it a bit longer, just because I felt things weren't fleshed out. Like we said, Boz is the guy who's in charge of Project Scrooge, but we don't know anything about him other than he's kind of like a father figure to Holly, and she misses her own dad, obviously, because she's dead, sort of. And that was another confusing aspect, is that she's dead, but she's not dead. They kept calling her a zombie.
Yeah, so I had many questions about it. We're veering a little bit from characters.
Many questions, yes.
We're veering a little bit from characters, but two things about what you said. The first is that I don't like to feel dumb when I'm reading a book. I was like 5 chapters in, and I still was not understanding how Project Scrooge worked, because it was like there were some dead people, there were also some alive. I was like, how does this overlap? Honestly, when I was reading it, I thought everyone was dead at Project Scrooge. I did not realize they were alive until like the 3rd chapter. I was like, so to me that was not well fleshed out. The other thing is that I don't usually like books that have to encompass so much time in their pages. Like, it was every 5 chapters, oh my god, we're 5 months ahead.
Yeah,
and like I get
big.
you have to do that for this type of book, because it is one day a year that you can go visit them as Scrooge, and you have to build the plot line and the characters, but there was just so much time jumping that it was so hard to get into it.
I guess let's talk about the things we didn't like, or plot inconsistencies. I think other than the biggest thing, obviously, was that I feel like they didn't explain a lot, so I was kind of, you were almost left guessing, or left to fill in the blanks yourself, and, you know, some people might be better at that than I was, but I struggled a little bit. The other thing that really, really bothered me, and it seems so dumb, but, so Holly decides that she's going to get to know this current Scrooge, Ethan, because he's 17, she thinks he's cute, and essentially, I think she's lonely and tired of being alone, so she inserts in his life and doesn't tell him who she is. She makes up a fake name, a fake life, and essentially he goes with it without like any question. And also the rest of Project Scrooge, they monitor him. Like, they have cameras up, They, they infiltrate his dreams with these, special devices.
It's very Big Brother, almost.
It is very Big Brother. And so the fact that she was able to spend, what, did they date for, 6 monts, 5 months?
Probably about that.
5 months without anybody at Project Scrooge seeing it, because she sometimes manipulated the cameras or, took him out, or she took him to places where she knew there weren't cameras. But the fact that not a single person at Project Scrooge picked up on that really irritated me. It felt like a giant glaring plot hole that was you just do what you want and it's going to work because everybody's going to be too dumb to notice. I don't know. It just kind of was very strange to me. It didn't feel authentic, but I guess in the end, it was probably, now that I'm thinking about it, they probably did that because he wasn't the real target all along. She was, so they probably knew what she was doing, but they weren't bothered by it because...
Well, that's one of the things that is inconsistent about this book, is that I was going to say, I'm different from you, is that I did notice towards the end, they knew the whole time, from what I gathered. Yeah. But they didn't clear-cut say, Holly, we knew what you were doing the whole time, you did the right thing in the end. It was more of Boz and his mysterious phrasing, where Boz is like, you did the right thing, he says some other vague phrases, but it does, like you said, it makes the reader almost have to guess what exactly they're talking about. And so, obviously, in cases like this, we just interpreted it slightly differently. So which one's true? Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Danielle liked the ending. I did not enjoy the ending. Obviously, major spoilers here. Danielle kind of already spoiled it earlier.
Yeah,
but they're following Ethan, who is, this rich dude in New York. And they identify him as their Scrooge that they're going to work on this year. But the whole time, they're actually working on Holly. And she doesn't know that, but everybody else does. So she's kind of references throughout the book a couple times, feeling like she's missing something, missing the big plot, missing the big secret. She feels like people are kind of, keeping something from her, and that's what it was. But I just feel like it wasn't very clear. But the ending was that Holly learned the error of her ways finally. After 5 years of being dead and working at Project Scrooge, essentially they felt as if she had changed. So they turned back time, I guess, and she woke up 5 years prior on Christmas Day, and essentially she got to live after already being dead for 5 years. And Ethan is only 12 at the time because he's 17 in the future, but he's 12 in the past, which meant that they're not going to get together ever. So, I don't know, it kind of felt stupid because the whole wrap-up, she does all of this, Holly does all of this stuff in the book because she loves Ethan.
I know.
And she feels so connected to him. And then at the end, truly the wrap-up with her and Ethan was just I will always love him and he will always be a big part of my life. And that was it. And I was kind of like, what?
I don't know. I mean, it's funny because Lindsay and I are oddly opposite with a lot of things. When we did a brief discussion before we started this, I was like, okay, Lindsay, what did you think of it? She was like, I liked the most of it, but the ending was blah. And I was like, I didn't like most of it, but I liked the ending. I don't know. I thought that the ending was nice. Ironic coming from me, the resident romantic. I liked that they didn't end up together because that was
bummed they didn't end up together.
But that was the only way for her to learn her lesson. And thinking about it while you were just talking throughout the book, Stephanie says that, you're only 17. There's no way that Ethan could have found his one true love at 17. And so I think that kind of circles back at the end because while Holly cares deeply about Ethan, it's not her one true love, obviously, because he's 12 when she's 17.
Yeah, that won't work.
Not that the age difference is going to be a problem later on in life, but she has a while to go before they can really get to know each other. I don't know. I liked the ending. I did like it because of the twist that you have on Holly. I was trying to... I don't know if you do it, but every time that I'm reading a book, I try to predict how it's going to go. And then every time I read more pages, I change my prediction. And I had multiple predictions, and none of them happened, which is good. I don't want it to be completely predictable.
Yeah, I had a feeling either that they were going to let her continue to live the life with Ethan at 17, they would unfreeze her and quote, bring her back to life. But that would then create a whole bunch of problems, obviously, because she's been dead for 5 years.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I liked that she got a second chance with her family and her friends because whilst the romance I think was at the forefront of the book, there were also strong family and friendship tones throughout where she felt regret that she had been kind of shallow and nasty to her dad and her best friend. Very.
Very.
So I was happy that she gets a second chance with that. It was okay. It was a good book. I would recommend it if you're interested in it and you are looking for like a cute Christmassy read, because it was fast. I read it in like 24 hours. I read it in 2 sittings.
Yeah, I read it in about 24 hours too.
And the actual book itself is kind of cute. It's like shiny and it has like a little candle on it, and
shiny.
you know, it has deckled edges, which I hate.
Oh, see, I like those. I think it makes it feel old-timey.
Oh, it just bugs me.
However, just to make it a 360 opinion, I actually would not recommend it. So
you gave it 3 stars and you won't
doesn't mean I
recommend
wouldn't recommend it. I would not read it again. There weren't enough holes to make it a less than 3 stars, but it wasn't good enough to be any better than a 3.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. So Lindsay would recommend it. I would not, which is ironic because I love Christmas and she doesn't. So I just think it's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like I've seen so many other great reviews, I think that perhaps it just didn't work for me and Danielle for, you know, the variety of reasons that we mentioned. But it seems to have worked for a lot of other people. It's cute. You know, it's fluffy, and I feel like maybe if I reread it next year, I might get something else out of it, because I might be looking for things that the author left us that I was too dumb to pick up the first time that I read it.
Yeah.
The breadcrumbs. I don't know if I'll reread it. Maybe next year. But there's so many other holiday books out that I'd rather give a chance to. But
one thing that I just remembered, one of my biggest issues with it, and the reason I didn't like the majority of the book, is that the whole time I was reading it, I just felt like something was missing. Like, it wasn't quite annoying enough to be a teen drama.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know, mature enough to be what I would consider a YA, a young adult drama. It just, I don't know, something was lacking for me in this book, and I still have yet to figure it out.
That's fair. You can't win them all.
No,
you can't catch them all. Yeah, let us know if you read it or if you plan on reading it, what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear it. Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed our very spoilery video.
We hope you have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.